Come join us each week as we dive into topics about the joys and the struggles of motherhood. By no means are we experts. We're practically flying by the seat of our pants, or should I say, mom jeans. On this podcast, you will find a judgment-free zone where we discuss not only the best parts of being a mom, but the not-so-glamorous parts too. You can expect unfiltered, real mom talk, humor, grace, and a sense of sisterhood. What makes our podcast unique is that we understand there's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to being a mother. We're not going to pretend that we know everything too, because we definitely don't. We just want a place to share our stories with you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Mom Jeans, trying to fit into motherhood. Welcome to another episode of Mom Jeans. We are so excited that you are here listening with us today. Today we have a special guest with us, Nina, and she is a friend of mine, and I'm so happy that she's here. Nina is an author, a mom to two sweet boys, and a military spouse. She's been a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. She's PCS'd, which means for the non-military members out there, permanent change of station. So she's PCS'd 3 times, lived in 3 different states, and she's also a key spouse for her husband's squadron, so she's kind of a lead spouse that is a resource for other spouses or partners out there who need support, especially during deployments. And so she works really hard and does a lot for that also.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a lot of work. I wouldn't do that. We were just talking about that yesterday, actually. And then Nina's also a really good friend of mine, so she lives right down the street. She is awesome, and I'm so glad that you're here with us today.
Yay, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about this stuff.
We're going to talk about your book today. We're going to talk a little bit about your staying home with your 2 boys, and then also a little bit about being a military spouse. I can't wait to get to that. But first, we usually do a check-in. So kind of a high-low of how our week is going. Then we're going to dive into those topics. I also forgot to mention who's here today. We have Lisa, Michaela, Michelle, myself, Danielle, and Nina. Leah's on vacation, enjoying her time on a tropical island. So who would like to go first? Lisa?
So I guess my high lows are actually like the same, and they both hit on Aubrey this week. So Aubrey, our 6-month-old, she has had 7 ear infections in 6 months. So we finally got the nod to get tubes put in. So we're super duper excited. That will happen next week. Hannah had to get those. I had them. They say it's pretty genetic, and they should make a big difference, and hopefully that'll help, because she's been on so many medications and nothing helps, and it stinks having to medicate her. I don't enjoy that very much, especially because it's not working. So that is a very exciting thing for us. We're happy about that. The procedure takes I don't know if any of you guys have been through that, but procedure takes less than 10 minutes now, and it's an outpatient. They bring you in really quickly, get her under anesthesia. They say, okay, you guys go out, get your car, and pull it around to the other door, and then we'll call you when we're ready for you to come in. And usually before you can even park, they're like, okay, come in, it's over, which is so nice, because, it's your baby. Oh, what's going to happen? And then when they come out of anesthesia, they're pretty upset. Hannah was really upset. She was like, she could not be consoled for probably a half an hour. So it was really hard because she was so confused. But yeah, so I'm excited about that. And then the other high-low is she unintentionally the other day rolled to her tummy in the crib. And then she was like, okay, I don't know how to get back. And she got really, really frustrated. And she's done that now the last 2 nights. So it's really exciting because it's a big milestone for her. But also she's like, wake up, somebody wake up and turn me back over. So that's not as enjoyable, the lack of sleep, but it's very, very exciting. So yeah, those are our exciting moments of the week.
Lisa, when Hannah got her tubes in, it was a pretty big game changer for her, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yep, it was. And now we just went back to the doctor for her, and she actually, unfortunately, she's outgrown her tubes, and she has an ear infection again. So if she gets 2 more in the next 6 months, they'll go for a bigger size tube. So that's a bummer, but we're hoping
That
we
is a
avoid
bummer.
that. So
I didn't even know
yeah,
that was a
but
thing.
it is a thing. But we'll see. See what happens.
Well, I know you've been through it, but small data point. One of the kids in Sierra's class got tubes yesterday, and he was back in class today, smiling and giggling and like such a great sport. So it sounds like Hannah was the same way after
Yeah.
short-term pain, but long-term gain.
Yep. Exactly.
Well, hopefully she starts feeling better. I forgot about the rolling over to the stomach and not being able to get to their back in the middle of the night. And that wasn't even that long ago. So it goes by so quick. Michelle, would you like to give us your update for the week?
Sure. Yeah, lots of highs. I was in Las Vegas last week for a work conference, and my mom and Sierra got some great bonding time, which was really cool. And same thing with my dad and Ryan while I was working. It was nice to be at a work conference and know my family was an arm's reach away if I needed to be there. But I think it's just generally we're just loving this phase of motherhood, right? Like I think this 14-month age has just been so much fun, and I'm really trying to embrace it. I'm also trying to embrace, like, this is a week she doesn't have much teething going on. She's healthy. I'm going to come back next week and be like, it's all back, whatever. But, like, I'm just trying to take the really positive moments when they come. And, like, this week has been a good one. And, again, really good bonding with my family and Sierra. And then Mother's Day was just really special. Ryan and Sierra made it really special and lots of bonding there too. So really only low to complain about this week is her sleeping is good, but she's an early riser. So we're up around 5, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but those early wake up calls are tough. And there's a big difference when there's a 4 or 5 in the clock versus if the clock starts at a 6 or a 7. So just hoping she wants to sleep in longer, but my mind's just telling me she just wants to party. So she's having so much fun out here in the real world.
Nice. Yeah, that's tough, especially if you're not a morning person. I'm definitely not.
Nope, I'm not a morning person.
Well, yeah, I forgot this past weekend was Mother's Day. And when you listen to this, it'll be a couple weeks past, but we went to the hot springs. Well, first off, the weather's been great. It was literally a blizzard at the beginning of the last week. And then it was all of a sudden like almost 80 degrees. So my husband took me to the hot springs for Mother's Day, and the weather was nice. I was sitting by the pool. I didn't feel like I was in Montana, though you could see the mountain range. It was beautiful. And then the pool was really warm. And so we got to just spend time as a family and get out of the house. And so that was really nice. Other than that, not a whole lot going on. I have noticed Weston's not been as shy lately. Like today I was at a HIIT class and we're all stretching. I had him out and he's walking around and he was just sitting in other people's laps. It made me a little like, not jealous, but I'm like, you don't even come to me and sit in my lap. He was giving out free hugs. Like, who is this kid? Like, he's changed from last week, but still he gets a little upset when little kids get in his face and he cries, but he loves giving like other moms hugs. So that's been kind of cute to see. But Michaela, how was your week?
My week's been pretty good. I am home all week, which has not been the norm for me for quite some time, but especially the last 3 weeks. So I know I missed our episode on burnout, but I am feeling it right now. So it's nice to actually be home all week, and the weather has been great. It's starting to warm up. It's comfortable to be outside. Stuff is blooming. And for the last 2 days, I got up early and went out for walks in the woods with my husband and my dog. So it's been a pretty good week. I can't really think of any lows that are worth mentioning. So we'll just ride this high for this week.
Perfect. And we're glad to have you back. It's been some time since you've been our episode. So I was excited that you're hopping on tonight.
I know I almost feel like a guest too, but I am not. Nina is our guest today, and we're excited to have her.
Yes. And we saved the best for last. Nina, how was your week? Any highs, lows going on?
Yes, I'm excited to be here. My highs and lows. I guess my high would be Mother's Day was really nice. Definitely gift giving is the language that my husband and I have, and so he gave me some good gifts. That was nice. And I did feel spoiled like with the boys. They're like getting older. Cash is 10, Leo's 6, and it's just nice to have them like be old enough to realize like it's Mother's Day and be excited. And at one point Cash was like on Saturday, Cash is like, it's Mother's Day, like why are you cleaning? I'm like,
Aww.
I'm doing this today so that tomorrow I can do nothing. So that was nice. And then I like last minute went to a bunko tea party I've never played bunco, and it was so much fun. Danielle would have gone with me
I
if
would
she was
have.
in town. um, but it was a lot of fun, and so that was definitely a high. Like it was a good Mother's Day. And then I would say low, I have right now Achilles tendonitis, which is very painful and not fun, and I've never had
Ooh.
something like that before, so I'm dealing with that. And the HIIT class that me and Danielle usually go to, our trainer, she is PCSing, so she's going to be moving. There's a new one starting, but I don't know, I'm not as excited to start it because we just love Dora. She's like wild.
We do.
So that'd probably be a low. Yeah.
That would be Milo too. I actually like teared up today because they gave her a gift, a going away gift.
Oh,
Oh, did
And
they?
yeah, and so she was crying, and when other people cry,
Oh,
I'm like, "Oh."
I'm
And
sure.
I will say to all of you, like Dora really meant a lot. Dora and Nina, because Nina, I was like, "Hey, let's go to this hit class," because I didn't know anyone, and she's like, "Okay, let's go." And Dora really kind of made this environment with all these other moms, and just made you feel welcome. And she had hit classes during the day, and I was like, well, I have my son, I can't come. She's like, no, all the kids come, like they either sit in strollers or they play. And so it really brought this new community to me. And I've made a lot of friends through this class. And so I owe all that to Dora and Nina. If Nina hadn't went with me, I probably would have never went. And so it really kind of helped
Oh,
me get out of my shell and like meet people. So thank you, Nina, for going to the hit class with me, even though you're like,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm like, let's do it.
I'm not, I do not love to exercise like Danielle does, but I know she'd been wanting to do it, and I just had like other things going on. I'm like, you know what, we should do this. And I knew Dora because her daughter was in the same class as my son, and she's just very like out there and just like a fun time. And so I was like, I'll do this class, let's do that. And so we started doing it, and I'm so glad that Danielle really got into it and made friends with some of those other moms. It was really good. And Dora is just so like, she just has this passion for like moms, and literally like she talks a lot about like pelvic floor stuff, and she's just like huge on that. And you can just tell like how much she like loves being a part of like that community, and being able to help other moms.
Yeah.
that has to be really hard for you guys to. I mean, I know we'll talk about this in the future, but to see people come and go a lot, I would imagine that has to be really difficult.
Yeah, it's definitely the hardest part. Especially being an introvert like me, it's like hard once my friends leave. I'm like, oh, now I gotta go talk to other people and make new friends.
I have a quick non-military question. So with the term PCS, so permanent change station, so does that imply when you get that it's going to be permanent? Like I know it says it in that. So was it a surprise that you've been moved 3 times, or is it more like that's kind of the name for routine moves every couple years?
That's the name for like routine moves. So like it's just your like permanent station for now, but you know it's only for so many years. And
Got it.
it's just different for everybody. It all has to do with rank and job and what positions are open and where. It's a lot.
Yeah,
And you never know. I don't believe it till I'm there.
Yeah, they also
totally.
give you a dream sheet to like write down your 5 top places to go. Nina, how many
Mhm.
people do you know actually got what they wanted on their dream sheet?
Oh, we did. My husband wanted Minot, North Dakota, because that's where
Okay,
he's from. And so we got it because nobody
because
wants to go to Minot,
no,
North Dakota.
yeah, nobody asked for North Dakota. So, okay, 1. Yeah, no, but usually you get where you don't wanna go, but on that note, we can get started. I'll ask you a couple questions just about being a stay-at-home mom because I'm a stay-at-home mom as well. So I love to ask just a few simple questions, and then we'll talk a little bit more about being a military spouse because I am excited to have you on here because it's a little different. Our lifestyle is a little bit different, a little hectic, and then definitely we want to spend a bulk of talking about your book, which we're excited about.
Sounds good.
Okay, so did you always know that you wanted to be a stay-at-home mom?
So I didn't always think that I would be a stay-at-home mom. I actually thought about this the other day because when I wrote my college essay, it was about like my dad achieving the American dream and how I didn't want to be like my mom, who was just a stay-at-home mom her whole life. And here I am. So no, but I think that the military had a big part of it, as well as just like not knowing what I wanted to do with my life. So I got a bachelor's degree right out of high school. I think you guys talked about this in another podcast where like I don't know if it was on your podcast or not, but somebody was talking about like getting out of high school and like going straight to college. You're not like old enough to like appreciate it as much as stuff. Um, but I did. I went to college and did my 4 years and got my degree in business management. And I was working at my high school, the same high school job. I was working as a receptionist for a doctor's office, and I just stayed there because that's what I liked. I tried to meander off to like a hotel and try to get into like hospitality, and it was not for me. I like cried after 3 months, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm going back to my baby job because I was considered like an office manager with this office, and I just grew up there and loved it, just like running like the front office. So then when we moved to Minot and I left home, I did end up doing a reception office there again while I was pregnant, and then I didn't work because it was just like I didn't have to. We could make the means. I mean, it does show like financially, I feel like we get into more debt whenever we don't work, whenever one of us is only working. But it was just nice. I did, I guess, burn out. I do not remember exactly because it's been so long. But when my son was 2, I was like, I need a job. I cannot do this anymore. So I did work and I found a job that I loved in Minot and I worked there for about 2 years. And then I was really sad to leave when we left from Minot to Vegas because that community, that job was like a family to me. So that was really nice. And when I got to Vegas, I didn't work for a while. And then when I did finally get a job, it was only for like 4 months. And I quit because they were giving me a hard time because my kids were always sick. So that was a lot of fun. And then COVID hit. Like I quit, and a week later, all the schools were closed for COVID. And I've pretty much been a stay-at-home mom ever since. So it's a lot of not a stay-at-home mom the whole time. I do enjoy working, but it was just easier. And especially with the military moving you around, it's hard to just like stick to something.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, but that last time deciding to be a stay-at-home mom, that really threw you right into it, huh? With COVID. Now
Yeah.
you're going to be a stay-at-home mom, and your kids are going to be full-time stay-at-home kids too.
Exactly. That was rough.
Yeah, and you can't do activities outside or hang out with other people.
Yeah, that was
that's
rough.
tough. That's tough. I did need to back up a little bit because I didn't. So we just like jumped right into it. So you're from Florida originally, and just tell us a little bit about yourself and your family.
So I'm from Florida. I'm from Tampa, Florida. My family's a big Cuban family. So leaving was really hard. I never imagined that I would leave. And not a lot of people in my family have left. So that was a lot. It's just a different culture. I went from Tampa to Minot, completely different, like so cold. I love the heat. From a city to a small town, that was really different for me. Although now being older, I do appreciate the small town a little bit. I also keep it in my mind that we're going to go back to Tampa when we retire and that time is coming. So I'm trying to just like embrace like small town feels. So after I moved from Tampa to Minot, I was pregnant with my first one, and then we spent 5 years there, and then I had my second son 6 weeks before we moved to Vegas. So yeah, it's been 3 PCSs and 4 different states.
That's crazy. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
you literally had your second, and you had to move like just like a month or two later with a newborn.
He was like 6 or 8 weeks. Yeah, it was mid-June, and he was born end of April, so it was like 6 to 8 weeks. And so I had my nephew and his wife, who my nephew's like he's only 3 years younger than me. He's like a little brother to me. They flew up to Minot, road tripped with us down to Vegas, and then flew home.
Did you have the Air Force pack for you or the military pack for you? Did you pack yourself and drive
I've
down?
always had the military pack.
Okay, yeah, that's helpful. I'm watching my neighbors just now like pack all their stuff up. I'm like, that's stressful. I'd rather than come pack my stuff for me. I know you
Yeah.
can make money that way, but I don't have time for that. Do you like enjoy PCSing? Does it stress you out? Like, how's that for you? How is that for your kids moving to Montana? Was that hard on them?
A little bit. I think it's a little bit of both. Like I think it's definitely stressful just moving in general, but I do get excited to go somewhere new. And like Cash was excited to come here and do something new. And then right now Leo's 6, so he's at the age, and we've been here 2.5 years. He's at the age where like the other day it was mentioned, and he was like, I don't want to leave anytime soon. So he's like got his friends, and he's kind of happy here, and he doesn't get that. But Cash is more of understanding because he's like he knows it's coming, and he's just a little older, so he's not too bad about it.
How do you know when you're gonna go? Like, is it always for you? Is it always like a time period that you know?
So it's just different for everyone. I think it also, like, when you first start out in the military, your like place is longer, and the higher you go up in rank, typically you're in places shorter.
Oh,
My husband was in Tampa for like 5 or 6 years. We were in Minot for 5 years. We were in Vegas for 3.5 years. And we actually had orders to go to Germany. I would have been in Germany now last February, but they got canceled.
I
wow.
would have been
Yeah.
visiting. I wish you got Germany. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, Ryan would have got orders this month actually, but he extended so he can just retire. Because if he's at the point, if we move somewhere, you'd have to extend his
Hmm.
his service to
Whole
stay in
contract. Yeah.
longer. Yeah. So we didn't want that. So he decided to stay here, and then we retire next year. So we won't be going anywhere else. But yeah, moving's definitely hard, and not knowing, and then sometimes you get orders, and sometimes it's not official until you have the hard copy, I think, like in your hand, like signed or whatever. I'm not even sure how that works. You probably know, but yeah, they can say you're going somewhere and then be like, just kidding, you're actually not going.
Yeah,
So
that happens a lot.
yeah.
So before I even got pregnant with Leo in 2017, we got orders to Japan. And that got canceled because I'm on blood thinners and I have to see a hematologist, and there wasn't one in so close. So Japan got canceled, and then we got Vegas, and then while we were in Vegas, we were supposed to be there 3 years, and at the 2 year mark, or no, I don't know, something weird. But anyways, we got um orders to Montana here, but they gave my husband less than 30 days to get here. And he was like,
Oh, geez.
that's not happening. So he told me some story about how like something got kicked in the system and it was a mistake, it's gonna get canceled. And I was like, okay, all's good. And then he came home and he was like, okay, just kidding. We're still going to Montana. It's just in 4 months now. I was like, okay, cool. So you really never know.
Wow. So how long have you been in Montana now?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. So it come at any time. Like, would he come home from work and be like, "Hey, we're going"? How does
Yeah.
that work?
Yeah, it's just
There's no
random.
preparation on that.
You just get an
There's
email.
no, yeah, they get an email literally. They'll get a call from their
Oh,
boss.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you've been through this a few times now. Each time you PCS, does it seem a little bit easier to like make friends and find a community, or like have you found any tips and tricks to finding people that you can actually like call friends and get to know on a military base? And do your kids help with that, or does that not really influence your ability to meet people?
I don't know about the kids part, but um I will say it's very like situational. Like it just depends. So like for example, the first when I met my husband, I was already in my hometown, and then we moved to Minot, which is actually where he's from. So I had the support of his mom and his sister and like friends of his. So that was like really, I felt grateful for that because it felt like a stepping stone. Like I didn't automatically leave home and go somewhere completely like, I mean, it was completely crazy to go to Minot, North Dakota, but I had support. So that was really nice. And like I had my kids there. So that was just like an experience, which was nice. Then we went to Vegas, which is like a big city, and you don't have that like small town, like false sense of security, I'll say, because it's not really more secure, but it feels like it. And it's just different. I felt like when we first got to Vegas, I didn't really have friends, but we had so much to do, and I felt like that wasn't very important to me at the time. I also will say in all of this, I stay very close to like my family. Like I talk to my sisters and cousins and stuff a lot. And so we did end up making some friends in Vegas, which were just like coworkers of my husband, like his coworker, his wife and stuff. And so that was like our little, you do kind of find like a little bit of a family. Like they were the ones that are on your emergency contact list and that kind of stuff. And then moving here, it was just another kind of small town from Vegas to here. And in Vegas, we didn't live on base, so I didn't feel very affiliated to the military. Here, we're on base and I'm not working, and I just feel like you're just more like into the whole like military life feel. And I've told Danielle about this. For the first year here, I feel like I barely left my house. I was also very heavy into like my book stuff. So there was that. But I didn't really have a lot of friends, and then I joined this thing called Secret Sisters. It's basically like Secret Santa for like weeks. You get like a sister that you like give gifts to. There's a girl giving you gifts and you don't know who it is, and they're all like spouses or members of the military here at this specific base. And they do like little socials like in between, and at the end of the whatever how long the thing is, if it's like 7 to 8 weeks, they do like a reveal and you find out who was gifting to you, and your girl finds out.
That is
And it
so
was so
fun.
fun. And it just like changed my perspective here completely, because I went from like barely knowing anybody to like now I see these girls at the commissary. I see them at the store over here. I know so many people at the school now, like all these moms that like I've seen them before, but I didn't recognize them because I didn't know them, and now like I know them all from like this group. So that was really helpful. I did it for 2 rounds, and then I stopped because I feel very busy now, because I also at the same time jumped into this whole key spouse thing for my husband's squadron, and that's been pretty busy for me.
I'm really curious about the Q spouse thing, but before we get to that,
That's
how
fine.
did you find the Secret Sisters group?
So they just posted on like there's always going to be like a spouse group for bases. There's obviously sometimes gonna be like drama and stuff on there, but I use that for like, where do I go get my nails done? Like I'm always searching in there for everything, because you just see what people recommend and stuff. And so they posted on there, and they've kind of got like a lot of the same people are doing it as long as they're here, and then it kind of just the people change as time goes when people PCS and stuff.
That's really fun. And it sounds like it's right up your alley with gift giving being your love language.
Yes, I loved it. And then I love being a gift giver. I don't do well with receiving. So whenever, like, I swear, every single time I got a gift, my two sisters that I had were so amazing. I would have to like hold back from crying every time I got my gift, because they would just do so well. It was really fun.
No.
That's awesome. What is the best part of being a military family, would you say? Actually, let's start with, what do you think the hardest part is? Then we'll end with positive. So what do you think that the hardest part of being a military family is?
I think it's being away from family. Like,
Yeah.
especially for myself, we're just like a Hispanic, like very close knit family. And so leaving that was really hard. I mean, thank God for technology and social media and everything. We're connected in all the ways. But I would definitely say that's the hardest part. And then the best part would be being able to have this experience. I would have never left home. And I feel like you just like learn so much. It's kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if I should say this. Like when you go to college, you just get this like different experience, and you could just tell like some people who like never came out of their shell and like never like experienced all these other things, like you just get open to this new world. And that's how I feel about like leaving home. And so I think that's like important for people to go through. Like I have a lot of family members who like wish they could leave, and they don't have the opportunity to, or at
Yeah.
least they, life just military gives you a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that too.
Yeah.
Like I'm glad I was able to like leave and see the world, and that would have never happened if, I never got out of my small town. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's my one advice, like to people, like leave. If you do live in a really small town, like leave. And if you want to come back, that's great. But like go see the world and then decide like where it is that you fit in, and so that's awesome.
I was just gonna say I want to get into the book because I just finished it today and I'm super excited.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, before we get into the book, wait, I'm really curious about this key spouse thing. And I I think it sounds like such a cool thing. I didn't think I didn't know that was a thing. So I'm just kind of curious, like what kind of support it is you are providing to the spouses. And I'm also curious, I mean, I would assume that it's mostly women, like female partners to their
Yeah.
male counterparts being in the military, but how often are you seeing men that are, coming to you as a key partner, if at all? So I'm just kind of curious about like what kind of how that works. So I think it sounds really
Yeah,
neat.
for sure. So I will say, in the military, like a lot of people are not fans of key spouses, just because I don't know why. I think it's just kind of like a wives club that gets formed, and then drama happens often. So you'll hear many, many spouses that are like, I never had a key spouse. I never was contacted by one or anything like that.
That
And
was
I
me.
think I'm, yeah. And I think I'm just like I like to like help people and be there for people. So I was a key spouse in Minot, and I remember we would just kind of like help out with some of the events. And we would try to put on an event, and nobody, one time we had like, I want to say we had like nacho like bar catered, and not one person showed up. And that's usually how
More
it goes,
nachos for you.
right? That's usually how it goes. So then when I was in Minot, we had like moved off base. That's when I got a job. So I completely like fell off of that whole. I feel like when you're not on base, you're not affiliated with the military at all as a spouse. Um, so then I wasn't like that either in Vegas. So when I got here and I was like, okay, we're gonna be living on base. I'm not gonna have a job. Like, let me try to be this key spouse. And it actually took me a second to become one because, without saying too much, the people before me were kind of having like not a great rep there. And I had to push myself in there, and I did. And then I was by myself for a minute, and I was trying to host like coffees and dinners, and not many people would show up. I ended up helping with like a big event, and it was like a lot on me, and I was this close to quitting because I didn't get any help from anybody. But as soon as I was about to make the decision to quit, I had a couple girls jump on, and then now it's like snowballed, and there's 7 to 8 of us. And
Nice.
basically what our main job is, we're not like a babysitter or an Uber driver. We're not meant to like be there for you in that way. We're just kind of like a resource that you use if you have a question, if you need something. We are what connects the family of the military member to the military. And so we try to be there, especially for people that are like on deployments,
Okay.
so that they know that they can reach somebody. So one thing that we've done is I kind of like stole from my Secret Sisters ideas and started like making events like that like the socials we had there, because I'm like, we have a big deployment going on right now, and we were preparing for it, and I'm like, all these people don't know us. Like, we need to make events where they meet us and they get comfortable with us, so that when shit does hit the fan and their husband's gone and the dishwasher's leaking and your car stops running, like, you need somebody to reach out to, and you don't want to. And so it's easier if you like know one of those people. So that's like a big part of what we've done, is we're trying to just kind of create this like community within the squadron.
I want to be a part of their squadron. Ryan's not affiliated with it, but they did a speed dating for friends at Magpie, they make really good drinks there. But literally, it was like speed dating, I think, right? But you got to like meet people.
Yeah, I created these little cards so you could have like a little like a conversation topic. And then we like literally like went around a table. We called it speed friending. And so when you would be, and then we had like someone with a timer. So then we would switch seats and talk and just get to know each other. And just because especially when you're in a place like this, Great Falls, Montana, like, it's a small town. You don't like know anybody. You're like forced to be here. It's cold and miserable.
Windy.
So you like need to meet people and like find your village.
That sounds like an awesome program. It's shocking that people don't all get behind it.
Well, I just don't think I think we've put a lot of effort into it, and I think people don't typically do that. Like, I'm literally just supposed to be the person that you call if you need something, and then I tell you like, oh, you can get the FCC, like the government, to give you babysitting hours, or you can call this number for that, or I'll get you in touch with the first shirt, which is, it's a lot of military lingo, but like, it's just like the middleman, it's the messenger. So there's not a lot to it. But in our case, we knew that we were preparing for like a lot of people going, and so we just wanted to create some sort of a community.
That's cool.
Yeah,
love it.
You seem like the kind of person that people want to connect to and would easily pick up the phone and want to call you if they need something. So that's great that you volunteered to do that.
Yeah, thank you. I know I'm like volunteering a lot. I'm like, where's my paycheck?
I know. I literally asked Nina to do things, and she's like, I need to check my calendar. She's got a lot.
I do. I really do.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done asking questions about the key spouse thing. Lisa, dig into all your questions about the book.
Man, I could go all day about this.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, just a quick synopsis. So So Nina wrote the book Because of Us, a second chance novel. Do you want to give us like the quick overview of the book so that people can go and check it out?
Yeah, I can. So, Because of Us, it is about the main female main character is Josie, and so Josie has always had a crush on her twin brother's best friend Wes, and something happens while they're in high school, and she ends up having to move out of town. She goes with her aunt, and she ends up and with that, she has a falling out with her twin brother. So then a couple years later, it's after high school graduation, she comes back home. She kind of rekindles her relationship with her brother, as well as finally, starts to have a relationship with his best friends. It's a romance novel. And so they secretly start dating. And so that's kind of a fun part of it. And so they basically just have the best summer ever after high school graduation. And her best friend kind of has a thing with her brother. So they're kind of basically double dating this whole summer and having a great time. But ultimately, it leads to something that happens that once again runs her out of town. And she's gone for 7 years. So now she's back in town, and she is closer to Wes than she expected. And so throughout the whole book, we're going back and forth in the timeline, starting from when they're in high school to present day when it's 7 years later after graduation.
Don't give away any spoilers, Lisa.
I was just going to say, I could probably summarize it for you because I literally finished it this morning. I started it 3 days ago. It was, I didn't want to put it down. It was so good.
That's so good to hear.
And I have like so many questions. So why have you always wanted to write a book?
No. I have been like a reader on and off through my life. My sister writes poems. They're very dark poems, but she writes poems. And so I've always just kind of liked words. So there's that like prologue about like words. That's like me. Like so much of Josie is like me. But I've always liked writing. And then actually the bout of being a stay-at-home mom in 2014 with my older one, I was just reading like crazy. And I actually was reading a lot of Colleen Hoover, her first few books back then. And I just got this like scene in my head of like this girl and her brother's best friend, and they're just kind of like back and forth. There's not even a scene like that in the book, but that's like what I saw in my head, and I was like, I need to write their story. And my husband even got me like a Microsoft Surface Pro at the time, and I started writing, and then it just he was deployed at the time, so that was something else that had me doing that. And then it just fell off and I stopped writing. And years went by and I didn't open up the story at all, but I will tell you that I thought about them all the time.
Really?
Yes, for years until 2020. I fell into reading again. I just picked up like an old Colleen Hoover that I loved. I really like Ugly Love by her, and It Ends With Us. And I picked those up and I started reading, and then I just couldn't stop reading, and I ended up creating a Bookstagram page, which is just an Instagram page for like book reviewing. I didn't even know what it
cool.
was. I like called my sister. I was like, I want to do this, or I think it was my niece. I like called her. I'm like, I want to do this. I want to make a page. And so I did, and I found a great community on there. Like people that I talk to every day are on there, and we just talk about books all the time. And so one of my close friends that I met on there, she was like, I want to read this. Like, show me some of your stuff. And I was so nervous. And I sent it to her, and she was like, no, you need to keep this going. And so it just became what it is.
So the gap between 2014 and 2020, you didn't go back to it at all and add to it?
No,
Or wow.
I don't think so. No, and I think I had like 15,000 to 20,000 words written, which the whole book is over 100,000 words. So I didn't have like that much done. And I think I may have gone back and edited a lot of it. And I have to say, huge trigger warning, please. I have to throw that out there. There's something that goes on. I won't say what it is, but if you have a trigger, check the triggers because it's on paper and it's kind of heavy. So
Yeah. has it made you want to write another book, or how do you have any more stories building in your mind?
I do. I have a lot, but I have zero motivation to write right now, and it makes me sad.
Okay.
So the book released in November of 22 or 21. I think it was 22. And like right away, I just jumped into Cora's story, her best friend.
Yeah.
And
Ooh.
and
I'd read that.
I was so excited for it. And then I hit the 20,000 mark. That must be my mark. And I was just kind of like not feeling it. It's not what I wanted. I won this like giveaway with this girl. She calls herself the fairy plot mother. She works with a lot of not bigger authors, but like indie romance authors. She like went over it with me and she was like, do you have another story in mind? And I was like, yeah, I do. I actually have a story for her aunt, Layla, and Connor. Do you remember Connor, the guy with the long hair man bun? So I wanted to
Yep.
have them get together and it would be like she's a little older than he is. And
Ooh.
so she was like, let's push Cora's story down and start this one instead. And I was like, all right. And I was pumped. And I did the same thing and I stopped at around 30,000 words. And that's where I'm at.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, it's really cool that you can even say that you've written a book. I mean, that is how many people have talked about wanting to do that and they never get there.
Yeah.
Even to say that you've written 20,000 words.
That seriously
is impressive.
3 times.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
What's I could Google it, but what's the equivalent of 20,000 words or 30,000 in pages? And then how many pages is your book that is released?
So, for example, it's hard to say because my book is over 400 pages, but that's got blank pages. It's like 350, I think, on like a Kindle. And that's over 100,000 words. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was quite an experience.
No kidding. And then what was it like trying to find somebody to publish you?
So, no, I did it myself. And that was a lot so as I've mentioned, Colleen Hoover, my sister and I like loved her. My sister that writes the poems was the one who like found Colleen and like she spread it between like our friends and stuff and we all read her. And if you don't know, Colleen Hoover, she would take her mom's laptop. If this is true, she would take her mom's laptop out of her car every night. It was her mom's work laptop and would write on that. And they were living like in a trailer, like they were not doing well. And now she is who she is. And she started off with self-publishing. She says she like self-published it on Kindle, which is what I did. It's called KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. And so you do it through Amazon and you just upload it yourself. And then that's how. And so supposedly when Colleen Hoover did it, she did it for her family to read and it just kind of word of mouth spread. But my sister released a short book on like poems. And so I already had a little bit of knowledge from that. And so I just knew. I mean, I think to go the other route would be to be traditionally published. So I'm assuming you would like send it to agents and publishers and stuff like that. And there's just a huge indie community. So that just wasn't even an option for me. I'm like, why am I going to try to like sell myself? It's my first book. Like, I'm just going to do it myself.
That's amazing. I will say I got through probably like the second steamy like part. And I was like, I wonder if her husband's read this. Like, I'm guessing your husband's read the book.
I asked the same thing.
He has not.
Also, I'm pretty sure this is when I met Lisa in the backyard, and she came out like a little hot and heavy, and she was like telling me about like the part of the book she was at, and I was like, all right, that's the only spoiler I have on the book, because I need to add it to my my book list.
No, he has not read it.
How do you think he would react if he read it?
I don't know. I think I don't know how he would react to it, to be honest. I think he'd probably just like laugh, because I'm not gonna lie, a lot of stuff is pulled from reality, but there's a lot of stuff too that's just like I read. I mean, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna make stuff up that I don't know. Like
that's what I was like. That's what I wanted to ask too. Like, how much of this comes from your life? Because it's not like, I mean, unless you have a super crazy active imagination, which is totally possible. But I'm like, some of this has to be coming from something.
Well, of course, some stuff is real, and then some stuff is I read smut all the time.
Yeah, same.
So, and
same.
that's like a big thing. Like that's a big part of, I have not stopped reading. I have slowed down reading a lot, but this whole time I have not stopped reading because I feel like if I do stop, then I really am not going to be writing.
Yeah. So then, like, how long do you think it took you to write like those first 20,000 words? And when were you writing with having a son at that time?
So at that time, I don't even remember like the moments that I did write. That was just so long ago, over 10 years ago. But when I did finish it, just a couple years ago, I would write a lot at night. It was like put them to bed and come downstairs. I can't tell you how often I've fallen asleep in front of a computer. There are often times that I'll be like, okay, I'm going to cut this time out of the day to write. And it just does not work out for me. I get too distracted and the phone rings and
Yeah, that's what I kind of wondered. I mean, like with reading for me, as you can tell, I read your book pretty fast. Like I lose sleep because I like can't put it down. I want to know what happens. Like, is that what it's like writing as well? Are there times where you're like, okay, I'm just going to write until 10 p.m. and then you look at the clock and you're like, oh my gosh, it's midnight and I have to be up with these kids soon.
There has been some of that. I call it, or maybe other people call it this too, a reader's high. There's times that like I did not go in planning this. This just came out of nowhere. And that does not happen a lot. And when it does happen, I'm so grateful for it because that's like, I feel like that's like the good stuff. It just depends. I can't tell you how often like I'm sitting here just staring at the screen and I'm just like, I have no idea what to write.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Writer's
get that
block.
trying to draft
Oh, for
emails
sure.
at work, so I can relate.
That like I'm sure you can see your numbers of people who've downloaded it. Was it surprising to you one way or another on numbers? Like when you published with Amazon, were you like, did you have a goal? Did you have an expectation of what it was going to be like?
I didn't have too many goals. I did better than I expected for sure. I
Nice.
also had a, it was, I blame the Bookstagram community. If I didn't have them, my numbers
Mm,
wouldn't be, and my numbers are not great, but they wouldn't be like where they are without that because
that's
I just
cool.
had like a huge like community there, everybody just like sharing it and stuff. So that was really nice.
Is it hard for you to self-promote, or are you pretty supportive of yourself in that way?
Online, I I had a really good time doing it. I like
Hmm.
loved like I even created all of my graphics and everything that I made with like little quotes and
Wow.
stuff. I posted on my Instagram. I did that all myself and I loved that. I love playing in Canva.
Okay.
In real life, very hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do not like I don't mind it. It's like if I know you, I like love to talk about it and it's all good. But if I don't know you, I'm like embarrassed. Not even just because it's like steamy, just because it's like a book in general. Just because I'm scared that like even though I don't, my feelings do not get hurt that bad at all. But if it's like somebody I know who's like a real like book critic, like they read a lot and they really and they
Mm-hmm.
read mine and it just does not meet their standards, like that freaks me out. But
Sure.
I've had plenty of like bad reviews and they don't bother me too bad. I think it just would hurt more if it was somebody that like I knew.
That's what I'm always interested because I'm on Goodreads and
Mhm.
I try like now because you have like I have a following of a few people
Mhm.
so that I know what to read, like steal books off of their lists and stuff like that. And like for the most part, I try to read things 4 stars and more because there's so many books out there. And I was looking at your rating before and I was like, oh, interesting. And whenever you have like certain ratings, you're always like, okay, where did it turn for the reader that they did that with the review? So like I kept waiting for the point where I'm going to be like, oh, when is this going to disappoint me? And it didn't. Like I even to finish the book the way you did was well done. And I'm not just saying that because you're on the podcast. Like I genuinely
Oh, I
really
appreciate
enjoyed
that.
your book. But the problem that I have with it is like, well, now you have to keep writing. Like I want to keep reading your story because
I
I like
know.
your writing style.
Oh, thank you. No, it's nice. So one of my best friends, Brittany, that I met on Bookstagram, and her and I talk all the time. She's like my number one fan there, and she like knows all the stuff of all the stories that I want to write, and she's always like, "Stop talking about it and just write it. Like I'm ready for it."
Mm,
And
yeah.
so I don't know. I totally get that. It's just I don't know. It's just hard.
It's hard with anything you do, right? Like I've been talking about starting like a photography website for years, like 6 years, and it's so hard to get yourself to actually do it, and you're like, but it's so rewarding when you actually do it. But it's the hardest part is just sitting down and doing it.
Yeah.
But I was going to say there's one thing that I also really appreciated was like in your steamy parts, like you didn't say, this is like one of my biggest pet peeves with steamy novels is they use the words like breast. Like who uses that word? Like boobs. Use the word boobs.
I probably said it in there and you didn't even notice.
No, I literally was like, she said boobs. She said boobs. I love that. I was so excited.
It's hard because I read all kinds of I only read romance, I'll say that. The furthest I go, I
Same.
steer from romance is like Taylor Jenkins Reid. That's the furthest I stray. But I just like read all kinds, and okay, what am I trying to say here? I like the younger, like new adult is what they call it. I like that age.
Yeah.
I'm more drawn to that. But then I feel like I'm like 35. I know that's not old. I'll be 35 next week. I know that's not old, but I also feel like it's hard to like stay, with the young kids. And like when I write, I do try to write with like a little bit of a younger voice. And yeah, I try to just say like regular words like that. And it's interesting. And there's so many words that people do not like that are not just the professional words, but like the medical term, I guess, that people do not like. And sometimes it's hard to steer from that because when you're writing, you're like, how else am I going to say this?
Yeah.
So
totally. So that being said, I know your husband hasn't read it. Have your parents read it?
No, my dad did buy it right away. And my dad made me post it on Facebook. He's like, you're not going to tell anybody. So I was like, fine. And I did like a huge post all about it. And it did get like a lot of people were like congratulating me. And but he did not read it. He does have it displayed in his house. And my mom was going to read it and didn't, but that's whatever. She's probably a big part too of like my reading for romance novels because she always wrote, I don't read these, but she always read historical novels, historical romances. And they're like, we had like my dad like built her like a library and she just had like so many, and she doesn't have them anymore, but I grew up like seeing those all the time.
Did they not read it because they knew it was steamy and it was coming from you?
She just doesn't read anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. And then my dad just wouldn't read it, but he promotes it. He like went on a cruise and he's like, I told these girls here, I saw them reading, I went up to them and told them. I'm like, Dad, like, you don't know. And then like lo and behold, one of them like wrote me and she was like, your dad came up to me and I loved your book, and it was so nice. It was really sweet.
Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. But I do have a lot of family members that have read it, but mostly like younger, like my generation, I guess I'd say.
Sure. That is really cool.
Yeah, I actually read it. I'm not into spicy, but it was so spicy. No, it wasn't so spicy. I really actually did enjoy it. I enjoyed the storyline and like the plot and everything. So yeah, it was like a page turner for me too. And Nina, I don't know how. I don't think you told me about it. I don't know if you posted it. Maybe I was creeping on your Instagram. I don't know. When we first became friends, I was like, you wrote a book? And you were like, yeah. And I was like, I'm downloading it right now. So
you really did jump on it and you read it. And I remember being like surprised. I don't know. Every time I tell people, I've known them for like a little while. So then when I tell them, they're like, what? How did I not know this? But
yeah, I thought it was so cool. I was like, of course, I'm supporting a friend. Like, I'm going to read this, even though it's not like my typical read. But I really did enjoy it a lot.
I would say it's like a maybe 2 to 3 chili pepper out of 5 chili peppers.
I would probably bump that up to 3 to 4.
Maybe there's crazy stuff out there.
there I guess you're right. I read a lot of romance, but like I guess it's not like 50 Shades of Grey.
I mean, in a way, yeah. I think more, well, yeah. It's just like how detailed you go into it, I guess.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah.
You go pretty detailed. I mean, I guess
I felt like I went pretty detailed, but
you did.
yeah, there's just a lot of, I don't know. It wasn't so crazy. It was more realistic.
Right. Right. No, totally. You're right. So so you said is it called Bookstagram? Is that what?
So it's Instagram, but the community is called Bookstagram. It's like, have you heard of Book Talk? It's TikTok, but they call it Book Talk.
Oh,
No?
no. I'm not familiar.
I
So then is there like one person that you or like a bunch of people or how does that work? Can
Yeah.
like people listening join, aka me?
It's just if you just like maybe search up hashtag Bookstagram, that might bring you in,
Okay.
but it's just Instagram and it's just people
Okay.
who post about books only. And I guess
Oh,
it's just
cool.
like the algorithm. Once you start following them and seeing them, then
Mm,
all you're going to see is books, book related posts. But a lot of people
very
really
cool.
get into it with like the aesthetics and stuff so that the page looks all pretty. Just take pictures of books and talk about them. And then they'll post
Nice.
like, here's a stack of second chance romances, or here's, an author stack. So they're all by the same author or things like that.
That's
And
really cool. Okay,
yeah,
one last thing about your book.
no,
How
sure.
did you get the cover art? Because that was awesome. That's beautiful.
It is. I loved my cover. I found a cover artist. She's actually done the cover art for, I can't think of any. Have you ever read Devney Perry?
I don't
No?
think
Okay.
so.
She's actually from Montana.
Oh yeah. You should read those. Those are good, Lisa.
Oh, yeah, we did read that one. I forgot about it. She has a series called The Eden. I've only read the first two. It's about a whole family. The Edens, and they're set in Montana. And most
Ooh.
all of her covers are the same cover artist, but
Okay.
when you're in like this like book community, you just start learning like different cover artists. Well, you can open any book and it says who the cover artist is inside.
Mm-hmm.
But she was
Sure.
just one that I liked her work, and she had a sale and I reached out and she did the cover for me. She did really good.
She did great.
Mhm.
That's a big thing that also draws me back on books sometimes is like, oh, I know you're not supposed to
I
judge a book by
know,
its
I
cover,
know.
but
I
yours
was
yours is beautiful.
I was in love with it. Thank you. I thought it I don't know, it just like makes it for me. And I think that scares me too because I'm just like if somebody's like in love with it and then it's not what they want inside. I'm like, sorry. It's just my first book. I think I was listening to you guys talk about imposter syndrome earlier, and
Mm-hmm.
I definitely get like imposter syndrome because I think to myself how like I never went to like writing school or anything like that. Like I know nothing about writing. I just do this. I just know what I know from reading. And so it just kind of feels like if there are author or for the authors out there that like did write and stuff, I feel like I'm in here like a fraud just trying to do my best.
I was just reading a book that I listened to a podcast and um Adam Grant's podcast, and he had Anne Lamott on. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, but she's written a ton of books. But she wrote a book called Bird by Bird, and it's how to write a book. And I was like, I've never thought I would ever write a book, but like she literally wrote in it like writing a book is the worst experience of your life. Like it is miserable. Everything about it is miserable. People take my class and are expecting me to be like, it's the best thing in the world. Everything's so fantastic and I love it so much. And she's like, it sucks.
Yeah.
but same thing. Like she's like, some of the best authors are the ones who don't know all of this stuff, like don't know that, oh, you're supposed to do this, this, and this. It's like they just figure it out. And sometimes not having a structure is the right way to go. But
Yeah.
it's a really cool book. I know I like fall asleep really easily reading nonfiction. Like I love fiction and I have a hard time getting through them, but I actually really enjoyed her book, like, cause she's really funny about it. She's like, yeah, I mean, you're going to have like your first draft. I always call it your junk draft because it's just garbage, and then you like let your mind go all over the place, but then a new book could come from that. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
I
So
love that.
yes, we could like start a book club right now, so I'm gonna just stop talking and let everybody else talk.
No, I do have a
Cool.
fun question though, because how we pictured Wes in our head. Nina, I want you to go last because you created him. So for me, Wes is like
Oh
Avery.
no, you guys are gonna give me
No, no.
You're gonna give me a picture of Wes.
Do you need to take your headphones
We'll
off?
see if yeah, maybe I'll mute myself for a little bit.
Well, mine for me was more like Avery off of Grey's Anatomy with like really blue eyes and I don't know, just like dark complected and just very mysterious and like handsome. I don't know. And well, obviously buff because I won't say why, but that's how I picture him. Don't know why.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm looking him up. Oh, that's not at all what I pictured.
No, no.
All
No,
right.
but you
No.
run with that, Danielle. You run with it, okay, girl?
Yes.
Wait, I love this. Lisa, what do you envision? And then Nina, what's your vision?
Well, and this is the thing I'll tell you about, like, if I ever like see a show and then I find out it's a book, I'm like, this is the best, because then they can't ruin for you like what you had pictured, right? Like,
sure. Yeah,
perfect
right,
example,
exactly.
like Twilight. I saw the first movie
Right.
first, then read the books, and I was like, okay, good. But then I read Outlander before I watched it, and I was like, that was terrible. It's great. Or 50 Shades of Grey. Like, I almost protested watching those movies because they casted so horribly. I like still want them to remake those movies because they casted so horribly. Okay, I'm passionate. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I don't know. I can't really like say anybody like specific. I really can't.
No, I couldn't say
you
it.
know.
Yeah,
So
I
I
couldn't
don't
say a
know. But
specific
he's just
person
like
either.
buff and just like I don't know. I like a nice high fade, and always with his backwards hat.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. I don't know. It's so weird. It's weird because exactly what you just said. Like you just envision something different. There's this I forget what the name is. It's like I don't know if it's AI or not. I would assume it's AI, but she creates a bunch of like characters and she does a really good job. I think it's called Art in Character. And she does it for a lot of like indie books and stuff. And sometimes they look awesome and I'm like, damn, she really like did well doing that. Um I actually created oh my gosh, I probably shouldn't say this because people are like against the AI stuff, but there was like a little trend. That's the thing that they'll do on Bookstagram is there'll be like a lot of trends. And there was a trend where people were like creating like little AI scenes, like Pixar movie scenes where it would look like a Pixar movie of like scenes in the book. And I like did it on my own just to like mess with it. And it came out so cute that I was like, I can't not post this. So I like posted it on my author page, but I was just having fun with it.
What is your Instagram?
So it's Pillow Talk Writes. So Pillow Talk and then Writes. So
Nice.
with my Bookstagram, my review page, it was Pillow Talk Reads. And I just like grabbed Writes because I don't know, I thought it was fun. Even though the writing came before the Bookstagram page, that really like got me going.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so go follow right now.
And do you sell just on Amazon or other platforms? And do you have a preferred platform for people to buy?
So I did for a minute there have a website where I was like selling signed copies. I also made my own stickers and bookmarks and stuff like that. But I took that down just because there wasn't a lot of traction in the beginning there was a little bit, but after a while there wasn't, and having a website is expensive. And I kind of just like fell off this whole like author thing. And then so you can get it on Kindle, but now it can be so it's kind of really confusing. I uploaded it finally to this website called Ingram Spark, and that's basically where people can upload their books, and like if Barnes and Noble wants to buy your book, they would want to go to like Ingram Spark. It's just like a platform that like those bigger companies use so that they're not having to like buy it from Amazon kind of. So I finally uploaded it into Ingram Spark and I ordered a couple copies because I have ordered many copies from Amazon that come damaged, which is really frustrating. And because I'll order them like in bulk, like 10 at a time, like not a huge amount, but they'll come like beat up. Yeah. And then I'm like, I'm about to sell this to somebody signed. Like I want it to be in perfect condition. So that was really frustrating. So I finally went ahead and uploaded it to Ingram Spark. And the other day, I just hadn't done it in a long time. And I was like, I'm just going to Google the book. Because I used to do it at the beginning. I was obsessed with looking for it everywhere. And recently I did it for the first time in a while. And it popped up on Target and Barnes and Noble and stuff. And it freaked me out because I'm like, who did this? like, why is my book on these websites? But it's because of that, like, that Ingram Spark. It like automatically uploads
cool.
it to those. So you could buy it from there. I still get like commission through the Ingram Spark website. So
Neat.
yeah.
That's really fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was really like in the thick of it. I knew all this stuff and I was just like working on it every day when I was coming out with the book. And like, cause I finished it in June and then I like sent it to beta readers, to an editor, and to ARC readers, is just like another lingo for all this. And then I released it in November. And so during that time, I was just like gung ho, like trying to advertise it and trying to figure all that author stuff out.
Well, before you leave or I leave, I would like a signed copy. I need to get a copy, and then you can sign it for me.
Okay. Sounds
I
good.
love that.
Maybe it's part of our next
Yeah.
giveaway.
Yeah. Can we get a signed Mom Jeans copy?
Ooh,
Yeah, let's do that. That would be fun.
I do have one more question. What is your all-time favorite book? And or it doesn't have to be all-time favorite, but then also what are you reading right now?
All-time favorite is hard. I wouldn't say this is my all-time favorite, but one of my most recommended books that I recommend people to read is The Deal by Elle Kennedy. It's a sports romance, college vibes, little steamy, funny, and then you get like the whole friend group. It's like a series. So that's a book that I definitely love. I always have loved Colleen Hoover books. I'm a big fan of emotional books, so that's why my book had a bit of emotion in it, because although I do like it to get steamy, I can't have it be steamy only because that's boring. I need it to have like a good amount of like emotion. I could talk for 100 years about what books to recommend. And then I'm reading a book called Ruckus by L.J. Shen. It's actually the second in a series, but a friend recommended it. She's been recommending me to read it for a long time. And I skipped the first one because the first one, the hero's like a bully, and I'm not into that very much. I can read it, but it's not my favorite. If they're too mean, it's like unrealistic to me. And I don't know why. I like my books to be more on the realistic side,
Right.
even though it's fiction. But it's about this guy in love with the stars, and when they start comparing the girl to the stars, I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We do have one final question.
Okay.
What do you think your favorite parenting advice is that you've ever gotten?
You know, I was trying to think about that. Parenting advice that I've ever gotten. Oh gosh, there's just like so much out there. I feel like the one that I have is a controversial one, but I'm just gonna go with it. And it's the cry it out method. I like did not do it with my first, and he just now, being 10 years old, started to be like, okay, let's let him sleep on his own. And my other one, and I'm sure that this isn't the reason why, but my younger one, my 6-year-old, I did not do it with him. And then I was going to start working in Vegas, and I'm like, how is he going to fall asleep for naps? So I just started like making him cry it out, and I hated every single minute of it, but it's quick. And then he got to the point where like there was like one day that we were just like hanging out, and we're like, where is Leo? And Leo went upstairs and put himself to sleep. And he's always been like a good sleeper for me. I do think that that's not why. I think he probably would have just been a good sleeper anyways, but I just felt like, I don't know, I feel bad for the mom. Like, I don't feel bad. I think it's totally fine if you co-sleep with your kids when they're older, but the second that we let go of that, it's just like freedom.
Yeah. One of our impending episodes we've always talked about is about sleep and napping and all the ordeals around it. So I love that perspective already, and excited for that episode because I too have a lot to add when it comes to the world of sleep. So does Lisa, so does Danielle, so does Leah, and Michaela with dogs, like all the above.
Michaela herself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I could talk about my poor sleeping habits. And you know, maybe Maybe before we do that episode, I'll have to ask my mom if she did the cry it out method with me or not. So I
Ooh.
can give my adult perspective on how my mom raised me and how that may have influenced my poor ability to sleep as an adult.
Yeah, both you and Bryce don't sleep well. When they go on vacation, they get the double beds so they can sleep
Always.
separate beds.
Always.
I love it.
I love it when we check into hotels and they're like, "You wanted 2 double beds?" Yep. "You sure you don't want a single king?" No. Give me
Nope,
2
sure
keys and
don't.
2 beds.
I think in our family reunion in a couple weeks, McKenna, our cousin-in-law, I guess, she was divvying up our rooms, and I think y'all got the room with 2 beds in it.
Yes, we requested that.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Well, we appreciate you being on the show, and please make sure to go follow at Pillow Talk Writes for your book account, and then at Pillow Talk Reads for your book reviews. And we appreciate you, and I'm so glad you were on here with us and you agreed to this. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for
Yeah.
having me. It was nice. It's nice to talk to other moms and readers and stuff.
Thank you, Nina.
And that wraps up another episode of Mom Jeans, trying to fit into motherhood. Thank you again so much for listening to us. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please consider giving us 5 stars so other mothers out there like you can find us and listen. If you would like, you could follow us on any of our socials at Mom Jeans the podcast. If you have questions, would like to send us your birth story, or give us suggestions or things that you would like to hear, please email us at hello@momjeansthepodcast.com. See you next week.